Welcome to today's Table Talks. My name is Scott Kappelman, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tyce Lawbinger. Tyce, how are you?
I'm doing great.
How are you liking this cool weather?
Oh my goodness, I'm loving it.
You like it?
It's amazing.
I knew you were a person that really enjoyed cold weather, far more than I do.
Yeah, but it's weird because I don't know if I'm anemic. I'm nervous to say a doctor term since Dr. Prosser's back there.
Yeah, we
right
have
now.
Dr. Prosser sitting out in the lobby watching us record today.
Yes.
So as you say this, he may step in
He
and
might
check
but
you out.
I think I don't know if it's anemic, but my fingers and toes get really cold. But they're always cold, even in the heat. Like I just don't know if my blood pressure gets. So it could just be low blood pressure. It could be anemic.
Wow.
But
So even in the summertime,
even in the summertime, my fingers and toes get cold. So in the winter, they hurt. But the rest of me loves it.
yeah, because y'all sleep with the windows open in these
sleep with
cold
them.
nights.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, when Brooklyn left yesterday for work, it was 58 in her house, and this morning it was about 60 in her house.
Wow. And I turned my heat on 2 nights ago because I knew it was going to get cold during the night. Now, we don't have it set very high, but at least the heat would kick on if it got chilly.
Yeah. Now, we are on the 3rd floor of our apartment, so everyone else has their heat on. It helps warm the floors because heat rises.
The heat rises and keeps your floor warm.
Yep.
Okay. That's very interesting. Well, today, we're missing Clark, of course. He's still student teaching and taking care of some other odds and ends in his personal life, so he's not with us. But we're going to talk about Thanksgiving.
We are.
So the first question I have to ask is, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish that you eat over the Thanksgiving holidays?
So that's a great question. I can probably name the things I don't like better than I can name the things I do like.
Okay, well, what do you not eat?
Well, I do not eat the cranberry sauce.
I don't either.
I stay away from that.
I'm not a cranberry sauce person. My wife loves it, but I'm not a person who likes it.
Yeah. And then sometimes the turkey can be my least favorite thing. If it's like a baked turkey, non-seasoned, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. But I love a good pecan pie. I love, I'm trying to think, my grandma makes this Jell-O dish. Love that. That's always something I look forward to.
So on my side, I don't like the cranberry sauce, but I also do not like sweet potato casserole, which a lot of people like.
I like the crust on it.
You like the crust?
Top marshmallow layer?
Uh-huh.
Really good.
But I want to say that my mother-in-law, Miss Kathleen Matthews, makes the best dressing of any that I've had. And if somebody from our church is watching this and you've served me dressing, yours was good, but hers is the best.
Well, not to get on a side tangent, you say that, and I am not from the South.
Okay, that was the next question I was going to ask. Do you call it, because you're from Missouri, do you call it dressing or do you call it stuffing?
We call it stuffing because dressing it's like a salad dressing. So the gravy is essentially your salad dressing so we call our gravy essentially dressing because it does the same thing as like ranch, like a salad dressing. So like you pour the gravy on top of things.
Whoa, we've got to have a discussion about this.
I know, this is a big deal.
So is yours kind of soupy?
Not necessarily soupy, but it's not. I mean, it's not chunky, but it's
okay. Now,
like think of a gravy boat and you pour it out like in a commercial. Like
you can pour it out.
You can pour it out, yeah.
Okay, this is very problematic for me, and I can see Dr. Prosser easing around the corner looking at us as though there are some real issues here. So for me, dressing is more like cornbread.
Yeah.
It's going to be cooked or I don't know, cake.
And I understand that. Yep.
And so it's not soupy at all.
Yeah.
And that's why when you said it was like a salad dressing or a soup that you pour over your turkey.
Yeah. Well, just think of like brown gravy that you'd put on mashed potatoes that you'd get at a restaurant. Yeah. Wow. You don't want your brown gravy to be chunky. Like
but ours is not even soupy. It's more like, I guess it's more like cornbread.
Well, yeah, and so we call that stuffing.
You call that stuffing?
So stuffing is your dressing.
Okay.
And what I call dressing is brown gravy. I call brown gravy dressing. Because it's like a salad dressing.
Clarified.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like ranch is a salad dressing. Brown gravy is like a dressing that goes on top of things. But so yes, I do understand what you're saying.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes. So that is called like cornbred or like
we call it cornbread
like
dressing.
Bread. Yeah. Like the bread that you chop up and put with have vegetables on it. Yeah. I don't know what stuffing. That's what we call stuffing.
You call that stuffing, but see, we call that dressing.
No, but dressing is brown gravy that goes on your mashed potatoes.
This is a deep well that we've got into.
I hope that clarified things a little better.
It did. I was very worried when you were talking about pouring dressing. The kind that I'm thinking about.
My dressing is your dressing is my stuffing. My dressing is your brown gravy.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification. That helps tremendously. Well, my mother-in-law, she's from the South, and so am I. We call it dressing. And what I like about her dressing is that, first of all, she uses a Cornish hen.
That is good.
And she boils it and then pulls the broth off and pours that into the cornbread and the biscuit that she's crumbled up. And then she adds the ground up peppers and onions, whatever else she adds to it. And then she cooks it. And when it comes out, you can actually dip it out of the...
Really?
Yeah. It's fantastic.
That is good. Similar principle. We use smoked turkey broth.
Okay.
So my dad has smoked turkey probably last year. And it's what we froze. Bring that out. And we do stuffing muffins. And so you put your dressing in muffin tins. And then you pop them out, and then everyone has like a little muffin of dressing.
Wow.
Or stuffing.
No, we've never done that.
Yep.
Ours is always in just a
like
rectangle
a
pan.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe 9 by 13, something like that. But it's probably one of my favorite parts of it.
Oh, that's good. It can always be really good.
Okay. So do you have a favorite Thanksgiving dessert? And then we'll get to
Well, yeah, pecan pie is definitely my favorite Thanksgiving dessert. And then my favorite, if it's a smoked turkey, that's my favorite dish.
I do like smoked turkey.
If not, it's probably the dressing or my grandma makes this, I don't know what it is, Jell-O casserole. It's my favorite.
Okay. So. I like chocolate pie. We use something like that. It's always good. And we have some other desserts as well. And the good news is when we get into Thanksgiving and Christmas, at least on my side of the family, they make sausage balls.
Those are good.
Cheese sausage balls. Yep. And those are some of my favorite things.
Those are delicious.
Somebody made some at our Thanksgiving meal last week for our church, and I was able to get 2 because I was toward the end of the line, but there were still 2 left. They were really good. I don't know who made them.
To keep staying on this tangent, you know what makes some really good sausage balls? Miss Donna Miller. She gave me some the other day. They were the best I've ever had.
Really?
So you should ask her.
Okay, I'll need to ask her about that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so as we move into the Thanksgiving week, and that's when this video will be released, somewhere in the Thanksgiving week, what are some of the things that over the last year maybe you have been most thankful for?
Yeah, obviously, now we did this in the Thanksgiving video, and my wife said it was very cringy of me to say her. But
I thought that was a very nice thing that you did.
Yeah, I thought it was sweet, and she's like, it's sweet because you're my wife, but if it was probably anyone else that I was watching, I'd be like, wow, that's kind of embarrassing. But obviously, newly married, so getting to spend it with my wife. And then I am thankful that this is being the first year that we're going somewhere. I now get to provide a dish, and I know most people don't think about that, but
you enjoy cooking.
I'm excited to be able to like make something to bring to Thanksgiving. So that's something. Very thankful for the job that I have.
We're thankful to have you.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. I think the most cliche things you can think of, I'm very thankful for. So,
well, as I thought about it, I'm thankful that our oldest daughter graduated with her pharmacy degree. That was a big step. And then she has passed the significant tests that she had to pass to really be certified, which was the NAPLEX and a law test in Tennessee, a law test in Mississippi. She's passed all of those. Eli graduated in the last year with his mechanical engineering degree, and he got a job, and he's doing very well, so I'm thankful for that. And Clancy has had to make some, tough choices. She's trying to stay out of debt going through school, so she moved home for this semester to save money. And I was proud of how she went through the rationale process of figuring out, do I go into debt or do I stay at home? And so she's continuing to pursue her degree, but not going into debt. So that's been really big.
Yeah. Not knowing Clancy for long, she has made some very mature adult decisions in the past semester. Not has. Just that. But
not just that. Yeah.
I've been very impressed with her wisdom.
She's made some good decisions. And I give Kelly all the credit because as a stay-at-home mom, I think she instilled in all 3 of them a lot of good qualities that have shaped who they've become and their work ethic and the things that they're doing in their lives. So I'm thankful for her as a wife and a mother, and thankful for our church. Thankful that we're now moving dirt.
Yeah, that's amazing.
After 19 plus years, we've got dirt moving on our first building, and that's pretty exciting. I'm very thankful for that. We seem to be in a pretty good position financially as a church to get ready for the next part of the journey. And we just got some great people at Cross Point. So it's a blessing to be the pastor at Cross Point. So I'm thankful for that as well. So those are the things that kind of came to mind as I was thinking about Thanksgiving. Yeah. So let's turn the tables for a few minutes and think about it from a biblical perspective. You had a passage that I thought was kind of unique that you brought up that you wanted to share in regard to the biblical concept of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so, I mean, we see Thanksgiving from the very beginning. Yes. We're supposed to be thankful to the Lord. He's our creator. He's now our Savior. So we have that to be thankful for. But even in the very beginning, like Adam and Eve walked with the Lord. They had a perfect relationship with him. They were very thankful for what he did. And he was even merciful in their punishment. Like, he could have killed them, but he allowed them to live, continued on. And so just thankfulness in that. But then we get into the law side. And there's even specific sacrifices that we're to make just if we're thankful. There's a fellowship sacrifice, and then there's also a Thanksgiving sacrifice.
Yeah, and those are the ones that I wanted to stop right here and just chase this for a minute. So often we talk about the Levitical sacrifices. We focus on the sin-related sacrifices, but blood. Blood. You got to have blood. But as you move through the list of those sacrifices, what you're talking about is in the list, and we rarely talk about those.
We do, because I mean, there's just times to give thanks to the Lord.
Yeah, and there were sacrifices designated for that purpose.
Yeah, and I think we can, before I get into that, I think we can compare that to today with tithing. Like, that's an opportunity for us to just, Lord, thank you for the job, and I trust you with what you've given me. And so this is back for you. So we see that today.
So you would kind of equate a tithe as a Thanksgiving sacrifice.
I would, in
a similar way to the Old Testament.
It is obedience, and we're called to do. Yeah. We're called to give back.
I like that,
but I do think it is a chance for us to show thanksgiving to the Lord in that. Yeah. But I have Leviticus 7, verse 11, and following. Not following to the end, but I just don't know where I'm going to stop yet. Now, this is the law of the fellowship sacrifice that someone may present to the Lord. If he presents it for a Thanksgiving sacrifice, in addition to the Thanksgiving sacrifice, he may present unleavened cakes mixed with olive oil, unleavened wafers coated in oil, and well-kneaded cakes with fine flour mixed with oil. He is to present this with an offering of cakes and unleavened bread with his Thanksgiving sacrifice of fellowship. And now this Thanksgiving fellowship, or this Thanksgiving sacrifice on top of the cakes, was a meat sacrifice. So there was meat involved, but you add to this cakes. And I just thought, as I was going through that, like, that is my perfect Thanksgiving right there. You get meat, you get some rolls, and then you get some cakes at the end. And so, I mean, how great is that?
So maybe we tie our Thanksgiving meal strategy back to the Levitical sacrifices.
Yeah, but something I do want to mention is just how even in those sacrifices, we often think like the Lord, one of those sacrifices, and maybe he called fire from heaven and burned it and consumed it and it's gone.
Yeah.
All these sacrifices, the Lord wanted us to participate in. And so they had this opportunity. When they gave the meat, there were some that went to the priest.
Yes.
The fat went to the Lord because no one's going to eat the fat.
Yeah.
But they had an opportunity and they were called to eat the meal. They couldn't, as you continue on down in the passage, it says you have to eat this before you leave.
Yes.
Like the meat has to be eaten, the cakes have to be eaten. It's just bringing it to the Lord and you get to share a meal with others because it's a fellowship sacrifice, with God because it's a Thanksgiving sacrifice.
And those meals in that particular time period of Leviticus would have taken place in the tabernacle.
It would have.
And of course, they believed that God's presence was in the Holy of Holies within the tabernacle. So as you just said, it was actually a meal because you ate it there at the premise where you were eating with God.
Yeah.
And then when they built the temple, the same strategy applied because that was God's earthly dwelling. And so I think that's a really unique concept to bring out, that it was not a rushed sacrifice where you threw it on the fire and it just burned up because you had to offer a blood sacrifice for your sin. But this is you sitting down in the tabernacle or the temple, and you're spending time with God, thanking him for all that he's done.
Yeah.
And that may explain the passage a little bit that I chose. One of the passages I wanted to share was from Psalm 136. And this is that psalm that we often will read at Thanksgiving as a congregation. It can be a good responsive reading because you've got all the way through this psalm, his faithful love endures forever. And I think probably they reflected on that regularly as they worshiped God, that the thing that sustained them was the faithful love of God that endured forever. So you would have a group of people say, give thanks to the Lord for he is good. And then another group of people, his faithful love endures forever. And then verse 2, give thanks to the God of gods. And then that other group would echo, his faithful love endures forever. Verse 3, give thanks to the Lord of lords. And then the other group would echo again, his faithful love endures forever. And it goes on and on all the way through verse 26. And that would not be something you would rush through. You would actually give some time and consideration to all that God had done for you. So I really like that psalm, especially around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Any other verses that you have?
Yeah, I actually also have a psalm that I really love around Thanksgiving, and it's a psalm that leads to a song now, an old hymn, not now. Most people don't know the song, but, let me think of the word. I will rejoice for he has made me glad. Yeah, I love that song, especially at Thanksgiving. And Psalm 100, verses 4 through 5, enter his gates with thanksgiving, and enter his courts with praise. Give thanks to him, bless his name. Good indeed is the Lord. His mercy endures forever. His faithfulness lasts through every generation. And that's where the song comes from. I will enter his gates with thanksgiving in my heart. I'm not going to sing it, but I just love that song. It's a good clapper too when we're singing. But it does. We see that David here, or the psalmist, I'm sorry, I don't know who wrote it, is just, hey, this is a time where we can not just give thanks to the Lord, but we can know that when we go to him, we are in his presence and we are with him. How much more is that now that we have the Holy Spirit too? And I think back to the sacrifice, like sharing a meal with the Lord. We don't have to go somewhere. The Lord is with us. God with us, not Emmanuel as in Jesus, but the Holy Spirit within us. Yeah. And how great is it that we can give thanks to the Lord?
It's interesting you brought that song up. I think when I was the pastor at Adenton Baptist Church, which is right outside of Starkville, great little church, wonderful people, we sang that particular song. The worship leader at the time was William Smith. He's now at First Baptist Philadelphia. But he liked that song, and he would sing it a lot. And I'd forgotten about it. It's been a while since I've... It is a good song. So. It's been a while since... And maybe Miss Shara, we might have sung it one time when the Cross Pointers led worship. I don't know. I've heard it somewhere else in the last few years, but I remember at Adenton we sang it a good bit, which is a good song.
It is.
The last thing I wanted to say as a verse is one that I used in a sermon recently, and it's from 1 Thessalonians 5, 16, 17, and 18, and this is what it says: rejoice always, pray constantly, give thanks in everything. And then this is what I think is really special about this: for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And I said this in the sermon, we often make the will of God something we've got to go search for, almost like a Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah. It's some treasure we've got to go find, but the reality is the will of God is somewhat simple, and that is we're going to rejoice always, we're going to pray constantly, which is going to remind us that our help and our strength and the needs of our life are going to be met by Jesus Christ, and then we're going to give thanks in everything, good, bad, or ugly, and this is God's will. Yeah. And so it gets pretty simple in those passages when you think about it in that way. So it
does. Yep. Now I would like to... I don't know if we're in this closing moment, but I really enjoyed, and I don't know if all of our listeners heard you preach the other day or last week, the 7-Eleven.
Yeah,
I think
7-Eleven.
That's a great thing that you brought to my attention of a way to give thanks to the Lord in this time.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny. The 7-Eleven store that always comes to mind is when we go to the beach in the summer. Right down from the condo where we stay is a 7-Eleven convenience store. And most of the time we try to buy most of what we need at Walmart, which is 2 or 3 miles away. But occasionally we'll forget something. Or we run out of a 2-liter soft drink. And so we're getting ready to eat. And rather than drive all the way back to Walmart, I just run like right down the street to the 7-Eleven. So as I was thinking about that sermon, it just popped in my head that one of the easiest ways for us to give thanks is to take 7 days, and over that 7 days, pause at some point and think about 11 blessings that you can thank God for that day, not in the course of your life, but like in that day. And I think the sermon focus that day was how our busyness really steals our ability to thank God. And so the 7-Eleven challenge was just to give people a chance to pause for 7 days and think about 11 blessings.
Yeah, and as we're moving into this Thanksgiving week, or as you're listening to it, and we're probably a day away from Thanksgiving, maybe 2 days away, this is a good opportunity. And it's a great opportunity because we're delighting in family, we're delighting in the fellowship, we're delighting in the food and the holiday, but really we have to remember to delight in the Lord. Yeah. And what a great way to delight in the Lord when you think of all the things that he's done for you or me or you or whoever's listening, just how he's working. And that's something that we're called to do, is delight in the Lord. I know it's a theme through Isaiah when he's not talking about destruction, having your delight in the Lord.
Right. And there are more than 11 blessings that we experience every day from the Lord.
Yeah.
But if you can think of 11, at least you've paused long enough to fellowship with Him.
Yep.
And to give thanks to Him. So, because His love does endure forever, as it says in that psalm I read a minute ago. So, any last thoughts? What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
We're going to Brooklyn's family.
Okay.
Now we'll only see them for about a day because they're going to the A&M and Longhorns game.
Because her dad's a huge Texas A&M fan.
Texas A&M fan, yeah. So they'll be leaving. We'll see them Thursday. We're gonna run a turkey trot, eat some food, and then they're heading out early in the morning.
Okay.
And then we're gonna ranch it. So we almost get a vacation more than a time to see family. Now I am thrilled to see family though. Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. Like
that's good.
The front half of the week we're gonna see them. And we're gonna enjoy.
So y'all are gonna keep up with the cows while
we'll keep up with the cows and stuff. And her grandparents are gonna be there, so we'll get to see them for a while too, and get to spend a couple days with them.
That's good.
Yep. And the Chiefs play on that Friday, so I am really excited about that.
Yeah, it's a Black Friday game.
Yep.
They're playing the Raiders, I believe, and I know you're a big Chiefs fan.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big deal because my birthday is on Black Friday this year. So
your birthday,
so it's really we're hitting Thanksgiving and then maybe the more important holiday right after.
Your birthday.
My birthday.
I'll have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, it'll be a good weekend. I'm excited.
Sarav, he's in the room too. He had a birthday this month, a little earlier. So this is birthday month for Crosspoint Leadership. That's great. Well, we're planning to go see both sets of grandparents because they both live in the Jackson area. We're going to eat Thanksgiving lunch with Kelly's mom, so we'll have some of that good dressing, as we call it. And then she usually goes down to Country Pleasing, which is a meat packer close. It's right there in Florence near her house. And she gets smoked turkey and smoked chicken breast.
Good stuff.
And it is fantastic when you put it with the dressing. So I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. I'm going to try to cut some food out in the meantime and get ready for the big meal.
Don't worry about that. You got to prep your stomach.
Oh, okay. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's rambling in some ways about Thanksgiving, but I hope we've given you some good scriptural basis for the season that we're about to celebrate. And we hope you have a great Thanksgiving day. Enjoy some good food, get some rest, enjoy a few football games. If you like to shop, go shop. It's not one of my things, but some of you may do that. And then we hope you'll come back and join us for the next Table Talks. Have a great day.